Okay, now we deal with the problems in assignment pertaining to restrictions on assignment. So what actually this indicates is, in the earlier problems what we have done, we could allot any job to any person, whether it was a minimization or maximization. There was no such restriction. But in real life, there are certain situations where there might be some constraints or some restrictions or some limitations are there. So in that case, maybe certain workers are not able to do certain jobs. So in that event, we cannot allocate that job to that worker because he is not able to do the job. So that is a restriction. That means that is a constraint where we cannot allocate. So here we will take a problem with 5 workers with different times to complete a job, and at the same time there are 2 workers who cannot do certain types of jobs, which indicates that is a restriction or that is a constraint, or we call that as limitation. So such kind of problems where worker cannot be allocated certain kind of job, we have to restrict or we cannot make any allocation. So in this case we will see 2 workers who cannot perform certain operation. So we have 5 operations known as milling, drilling, boring, honing and welding. In that case you will see that worker 2 cannot do welding. Here we have mentioned it as infinitive. That means actually it is a hyphen, but what we have done here is we have put it infinitive for the purpose of calculations and all that, because in row operation and column operation we are going to subtract the least elements in row from row operation from all the elements of that particular row, and in column operation we will subtract the minimum element after the first step from all the elements of that respective column. So if anything minus infinity minus anything is infinity, that is the reason we have chosen them as well. Similarly, the worker 4 cannot perform operation on milling, but for other workers there is no such restriction. Worker 1 can do milling, drilling, boring, honing and welding. Similarly, worker 2 can only perform these 4 operations except welding, and worker 3 can perform all the operations and their respective times are given. Worker 4 except milling, all other operations he can do or she can do, and worker 5 can perform all the operations. Now this is given. After this, the row operation goes as usually as a first step. That means we will identify the least element of that row and subtracting that element from each of the element of that row. First row we have to identify least element in first row and subtract that from all the elements of first row. Then second row we have to choose the lowest element or least element and subtract from all the, where infinity comes, infinity minus anything, we will write it as infinity. We are not going to make any kind of assignment or allocation because that is the highest value. We are going to make assignment only to the places where we have got 0. That is the reason this restriction on assignments can be worked out. So we will proceed with the row operation further.